Well, hello there and welcome back to my channel, or of course welcome to my channel if you're new. If you are new, then hello, lovely to meet you. My name is Alex, and if you are new here, make sure you stick around and subscribe. And of course, if you are already subscribed, please make sure you put that notification bell on just so you're notified of every single time that I upload. Now for today's video, we have a review on one of the new releases by Revolution Pro, and as you can tell by the title, it is this, which is the Revolution Pro Crystal Luxe face palette. Now they do have these in three, well, I don't know why I held up two fingers. They have these in three different shades. They have a peach one, I think it's a peach royale palette, the rose fresco, which is the one that I've got, and then they do have one that is more for like deeper complexions. These retail for £15, so they are not cheap, and they are quite small. I was quite surprised when it turned up how small they actually are for the price. But I mean, Revolution Pro are more expensive than the normal Revolution range, so maybe the product's better quality. I'm not really too sure, but that's what today's video is for. We're going to give this a little bit of a test, see if it's worth the money, see if you need it in your collection. So if you'd like to see a review on the new Revolution Pro Crystal Luxe palette, then please keep watching. So this is what the packaging is like for the Rose Fresco palette. It just comes in this gold box. As I said, there are 3 shades in here. I think they could have probably done with one more. This one in particular is cruelty free and vegan, and this is what the packaging looks like. It is so stunning. I love it, and it's partially the reason I wanted this one is because it has like pink like crystals on them. Like, oh my god, how beautiful is that? And if you haven't seen this before, this is what the palette looks like. So you get 6 different face products in here. You get kind of like 3 satin versions and then 3 like shimmery versions. So in this one in particular, you get a like satin face powder, a satin blush and a satin bronzer, and then underneath those shades you get the corresponding like shimmery version. So you get a highlighter, you get a shimmery blush, and you also get like a shimmery bronzer as well. So if you are in my like Patreon group, you know that I was so indecisive about which one to get. This rose one and the peach one are so like similar in the sense that if you had fair to light skin, you could probably use both of them, which is why I feel like they should have done another one as well, because I'm not really too sure if medium skin toned people would be able to use this. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like they could have done with like another palette to put in between this rose one and the deeper one. See, I was so indecisive. It literally took me about 4 days, I'm not being dramatic, to decide which one I wanted, and even then I was still so indecisive about which one I wanted. But I went for this one in the end just because the powder in here looks to be more of like a skin tone powder, whereas the other one in the peach palette looks to be like a peach powder, and for me with fair skin, like peach powder just doesn't go well with my skin, so that's why I went with this one. However, I think the bronzer and the blush are lighter in the peach palette, so yeah, it's very confusing. Was so indecisive, but anyway, we went with this one in the end. So yeah, we are going to put this to the test, but first let's do some swatches. So I'm firstly going to swatch the top more satiny shades. I'm just gonna, they feel really soft actually. So these are the swatches of the like more satiny shades. They definitely look like perfect for fair to light skin tones. Obviously these are more satin. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but they do have like a tiny bit of shimmer in them, but not too much, nothing like the ones underneath. So that's why I did set my face before this video, because I didn't want to use that all over my face because it's more of a satin powder, and because I've got a combination skin type, those kind of powders are not going to last very well on my skin. And then now we're going to swatch the highlighter versions in here. Oh, they're very crumbly. And these are what the 3 shimmery versions look like. The highlighter looks absolutely stunning. I love the blush shade. I definitely am not one to use like shimmery bronzers, so that will probably not be used by me, to be honest, and it's quite a dark bronzy shimmer as well, so I definitely wouldn't be able to get away with that. But right, let's actually put these on my face now, because I'm very intrigued to know what these are going to be like. My only concern is these pans are quite small and like awkward because they're like diagonal. They're like a triangle, aren't they? So let's see if I can actually try and apply these on my face. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this satin powder. Yeah, it's so awkward to try and get out of the pan. And I guess let's see what that does. I've got no idea. I definitely wouldn't put this like all over my face. I just put highlighter on my face. Brilliant. Yeah, just be careful when putting this on, because you're gonna get the other powders in it if you don't get it properly. But to be honest, I don't think this is going to do much. I have got a glowy foundation on underneath, so that might be why my face is a bit glowy as well. But I mean, satin powders are super pretty. I just couldn't set my whole face with it because of my skin type. But I definitely use this again just to go over my base powder, I guess, maybe to just give it a little bit more of a glow. Could I be able to do that every single time I do my makeup though? Probably not. I probably more use this palette for the highlighter and the matte blush and bronzer, and maybe the shimmery blush as well. But I've just put a light layer on there. I don't know, has it made my skin look a little bit more glowy? Because I've got a glow foundation on, I can't really tell, but I do have a little bit of a glow going on, so maybe it has worked. And it is a super pretty powder. It's just not something that I personally would reach for on a regular basis. Okay, let's try the bronzer, and I've got no idea how I'm going to get this out of the pan because my bronzer brush is huge. Because I've got to try and like not get the blush as well. Like, that would be a disaster. Let's try and do this successfully. Do you know what? It's actually a pretty shade. I was expecting that to be a little bit too dark for me, but I guess because I'm using such a light hand with the brush anyway, because I can't physically get any more product on my brush because it's so small, it's actually a really pretty colour. So if you've got a fair skin tone, you could definitely get away with this Rose Fresco palette. I definitely would like to try the peach one eventually, I think, just to see a difference in the shades, but this one is super pretty so far. I am going to use a pinch of that for my contour as well, just because on the website it does say use it to bronze and contour, so I'm going to give that a go. Now this brush is a lot easier to use because it's actually small enough. You can tell the pans are better quality as well because there's like no kickback with them, which is really nice. Usually with like cheaper makeup you just get a lot of kickback with things like this, but there is none. And it's actually really nice. It's quite a nice balance between warm and cool toned for contour. It's not too warm and it's definitely not too cool. So I really actually like this shade, and again, perfect for like fair to light skin tones. I don't know if medium skin tones would be able to get away with this, possibly, but I mean, I'm like super pale and it looks really nice on my skin, and you can definitely tell the powders are satin because my face is like all over glowy right now, and I'm low-key loving it actually. It's quite pretty. Now I'm going to grab the highlighter in here, which is quite a golden tone in the peach palette. That's very kickbacky. In the peach palette it's quite a cool toned pink. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, and this is the highlighter on, and it is super blinding. It's almost like too pigmented. Like, it is absolutely stunning, and it's not too yellow as well. Like when I look forward, I can't really see any kind of like gold cast on my cheeks, so it is quite a yellow gold for someone with fair skin, but to be honest, you can't really see it, which is nice. It's nice to be pale and be able to wear like a gold highlighter, because usually they do leave a bit of a gold cast, kind of like Amrezy. Like they said it was for everyone, but when I tested it, it was just kind of too yellow and too like cast for someone of my skin tone. But I mean, yeah, if you've got a fair skin tone, this palette is a good colour theme for you, because it seems to be going really well, and it's just nice to have a golden highlight for a change. So let's move on to the blush part. We are of course going to take the satin blush first. I have a feeling this is going to be very pigmented, so I'm just going to take like a tiny amount. It's a beautiful colour, beautiful. Yeah, the satin shades seem to not be kickbacky whatsoever, but the highlighty ones do definitely have some kickback. Yeah, this blush is absolutely gorgeous. Goes really well with the blush, with the highlight. It looks absolutely stunning. Actually, I'm a bit worried to put the highlighter version on top, but do I? I don't know. God, can you see how glowy I am? Look at this on my cheeks. I'm never normally this glowy. I really like it though. It gives quite like a healthy glow to the skin that I definitely don't have. Okay, we're gonna take a tiny bit of the shimmery blush. I'm scared for my life. I don't want to put too much on because it will just be a disaster. So I'm just gonna put a tiny bit on. I'm kind of like just tapping most of it off. Hopefully you can see that I am applying it, but I just don't want to put too much on because it will totally ruin it, and I'll look too glowy, if that's even possible. Okay, these are all of the face products on. The only one I didn't try was the shimmery bronzer, and that's just because that's going to be way too dark and pigmented for my skin tone, so I've decided to leave that. But I have tested all the other powders and stuff on my face, and I actually really like this palette. I was not expecting to love it because of the colours in the palette. I thought it might have been a bit too dark for me, but to my surprise, all the shades actually worked really nicely for my skin tone, especially that bronzer I was really pleased with as well, and I did obviously use it as a bit of a contour. The satin powder is definitely not something that I'll use on a regular basis, but if I ever want to do like a glowy base like today, obviously I've got a very glowy face going on today, then I'll definitely reach for it. The only other like satin powder I have is actually by Revolution Pro. Yeah, it's their opalescent powder, and that's super pretty, especially in the summertime. Obviously I know we're going into autumn, but if I ever want to do a super glowy look, I'll definitely reach for this face palette. The highlighter, again, really beautiful. Definitely suits well with fair skin. Maybe if you're like super pale, like paler than me, if that's possible. It might be a bit too dark for you, but I'd say Fair to Light can get away with that because you cannot see a cast when I look forward. The blush colour is super pretty. It's really nice. Shimmery blush, as long as I don't use too much, it looks really nice, and hopefully you can see that my whole cheek area is glowing. Really pleased with the bronzer. It's a nice shade. Obviously I couldn't test the shimmery bronzer because it's a bit too dark for me. The only thing I would say about this is the pans are a bit awkward because they're like in triangle shapes, especially for bronzer, and you've got a bigger brush to like swoop over your cheeks. It's a little bit difficult to get to the pan and not accidentally get a shimmer in it, so it's probably the only bad thing I will say about it. Obviously it's £15 as well, so it's not a cheap face palette. Like you could go to Revolution and get a face palette for £3.50 whereas this one is £15. What I will say is I think you definitely can tell there's a difference in quality. These definitely do feel a little bit more luxurious, as the name of the palette suggests. I love the satin powders. They look super pretty and glowy. And obviously the highlighters and shimmery blush were really nice as well. So I can see a slight difference in the quality. It's just up to you whether you feel like £15 is worth it for like a travel sized face palette, because that's essentially what it is. If this was a bit bigger, I would probably say that it's totally worth your money. But if you can get this on a discount or sale and you want to try it, definitely give it a go. I think it's nice. I definitely will reach for it again, but not on like a regular basis. Like, it hasn't blown me away, and it's not something that I'll use day to day. So they're pretty much my like round up thoughts and opinions on the Rose Fresco palette. If you've tried this, please let me know what you think of it down below, because I'll be so intrigued to know what you think about this, because obviously it's quite expensive for how much product you get in here as well. So yeah, I would really love to know your thoughts and opinions. There's not really much else I can say apart from I do really like it. It's just maybe a little bit on the more expensive side for a like travel sized face palette, if you get what I mean. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know by smashing the thumbs up button. Let me know down below your thoughts and opinions on this palette, and obviously on all the other palettes. Did you get one? If you've tried it, please let me know your thoughts and opinions. Of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.